I'm good.
That's good. I'm good, thank you. Well, I've actually known you for quite some time over social media and being one of your clients.
Yeah.
So it's been great getting to have you in the chair because I know that you are full of knowledge and wisdom, and it's just awesome to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honoured to be
Of
here.
course.
I was so excited when you started this. So.
Yay. What kind of look do you like? Or what do you want to go for today?
Pretty natural, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not a big makeup girly. I'm not gonna lie.
So just like simple.
Yeah, simple. I like it to look nice and glowy, that kind of thing.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
We'll jump into it.
Perfect.
So just priming Laura's face with the Mecca Max Radiance Primer. It gives such a nice glow to the skin underneath. For those who don't know, what is it that you do?
Lots of things. I would describe myself at the moment as like a spiritual business coach and mentor. But for years I've been in a mindset and empowerment coaching space, and I actually still do that here and there with clients that have been with me for like 5+ years. So yeah,
That's cool.
it's really cool.
And what made you want to actually jump into the coaching realm?
I saw a major gap. I found that it helped me a lot, and every single time I'd ever had any kind of issues or problems with my own, mental health side of things, I found a lot of the typical way of going about things to be really not helpful for me specifically. And then I found this, and I had kind of wanted to become a psychologist. That was my end game.
And you're still studying that?
Yes, I will be forever. And so I kind of wanted that to be my end game, and I fell into it, and then went, I can't believe this isn't taught, and people don't know a little bit about this, and so I, wanted to make it accessible for people.
Yeah.
So it was born out of that, pretty much.
That's cool. And what were you doing before this industry?
I had done some acting, a lot of studying, and just like working little jobs here and there.
Yeah.
I'd been, the year that I opened the business, interestingly enough, I was over in America doing, like, looking for acting stuff, and I actually quit. Like, I had a steady gig in acting for TV. Wow. And I actually quit it to do the business, which is a big leap. But I was like, fuck it.
Yeah. And how has that leap sort of taken off? Like, are you happy that you made that decision?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't... it's interesting because I thought that I loved the acting world. And don't get me wrong, I still do I love that space. But for me personally, I actually found that I loved making people feel things, and having an emotional experience, and also experiencing the array of emotions that you do when you are acting as well. But it wasn't really, I suppose, for me. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, I just didn't. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I found a way to make people feel and feel better in a different way. Not easier, but different.
What would you say would be one of the most challenging parts of your job role then?
Right now, sometimes communicating with people who are from different experiences and different backgrounds can be challenging at times. And ensuring that, just the other day actually, I had an experience where in my mastermind I had a client who mentioned, and I've dealt with this for a long time, so things happen, life happens, sometimes people misunderstand you, but she mentioned that she was feeling misunderstood by me.
Okay.
And me 5 years ago would have had a fucking meltdown over it, but I was like, oh, that's really interesting, like, tell me more, I'm really curious. And it was literally one comment that was taken out of context, and she just took it in the wrong, like literally in the wrong way, and I went, oh, this is what I actually meant by it. And having that conversation, she went, oh my gosh, that's so different to what I took. And she was obviously in a bit of a triggered state, and it wasn't a big deal at all, but those sorts of things can happen a bit, right, when you're like, you're communicating with lots of different kinds of people. And the same thing happens on social media, right? You can post something that is for a very specific kind of person, but then perhaps someone who's not really right for that might come across it and, you know, take that the wrong way.
Yeah, and it really does depend on, like, their upbringing, their values and stuff, and, like, all the other circumstances outside of you and what you're trying to put out.
Yeah, and you can't control that. So I think that can be challenging. I sometimes find I have in the past when I've gone through some stuff, like, personally, to be on social media, because I'm very honest, and I really struggle to, like, keep things a secret and you know I just can't do it. It's not I'm not very good at it, so that's been something that has been tricky as well, but you know it's great. Like, the challenges aren't a bad thing. No, you know what I mean?
They're just, like, beautiful little challenges.
Like I wouldn't change it, I suppose.
That's good. And then what would you say is, like, the most rewarding part of your job role?
Seeing people kind of, like, really step into, own their power, and then have that translate into different areas. So for some people that's in their career, other people that's in their businesses, and their businesses really take off, and you know, it's just other people, it could be in relationships, and you know, it's just really beautiful when people really own their power and start to own their own magic. It's really cool.
Do you think you yourself are owning your power?
I would like to say I feel like I do, but also, you know, I'm human and we fall into modes where we forget about it. Yeah. And so we've got to, unless you're consciously choosing to work on it, you will forget. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter, even if you teach the
Definitely.
You will forget about it.
Like, there's definitely been moments for me where I know what I'm meant to be doing and everything, and then, like, I'll fall into a cycle of whatever, and then during that cycle I'll be like, oh, but remember what I am, like, who I am, blah, blah, blah. And it's so hard to make that conscious effort.
Well, I think it's also that, like, people are really, especially in this space, like in the spiritual space, the mindset space, they hate, like, feeling any kind of negative emotions or, like, leaning into kind of victim mentality or anything like that, even if it's really needed. Yeah. Like, I think that there's a place for everything. And, and negative emotions, they really serve, feeling like shit serves a purpose, right?
Yeah,
like it's, and sometimes things happen where you need to, like, it's not, you're bypassing how you're actually feeling if you don't let yourself go there. So I think that, you know, it's, you know, when people have an inability or a difficulty, like, sitting in their stuff, it makes things a lot worse. Yeah.
And how would you help someone who doesn't want to go down, you know, that shittiness, like, doesn't want to feel that?
Depends on the person, really.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things that you can do. Typically, I like to have people start to connect more to their body and to their sensations in their body, so we can kind of practice more embodiment. Or we'll do processes to help them feel. Yeah. But again, like, it's tricky because, you know, you have to be mindful of people's experiences and their background. So with that, like, it's, you know, what I would do for one person versus another is very different. Yeah.
So you yourself, do you have, like, a coach or a psych or anything?
Yes, I work with both, actually. Yeah. For different purposes at different times. At the moment, coach, but I have had periods of time where that hasn't been the right fit, and I know the difference, right? Like, there is a difference. You know, there's coaches are not really meant to be. There's boundaries, there's, like, scope of practice, and there's certain places where they can't play in. So, and they can't really treat, nor should they. So yeah, I've worked with both, but at the moment, coach. But I love both.
They've got their benefits.
Absolutely. I think when I had seen a psychologist, it was because there was, like, at the time, the things that I was experiencing, it wasn't really. I wanted to understand it, and I wanted to place it through more of that, like, science mind lens, if that makes sense.
And apply that to your
and apply that to my. Well, no, not at all. Because you can't. But I wanted to understand myself and what was happening, because I knew what to do to help myself, but I wanted to understand what it all meant. Right. And the context of the trauma and where it was going, and, like, I wanted to understand it all. So I was like, well, this makes the most sense, you know, because I do find with coaching, we only work on the past to help you with the future.
I always thought coach was also like more future driven.
Way more future focused. Way more future focused.
Yeah.
Whereas at that point in time when I was more needing, to work with a psychologist, I was like, I really don't even want to think about a goal.
Yeah.
I just want to I want to understand this and kind of come to terms with things. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't in context of a goal. So this is when you kind of know there's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Kind of going on, I suppose. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's what's like tricky because like obviously I am studying counselling.
Yep.
Except I also want to maintain that online presence.
Yeah,
so I can,
beautiful.
but it's also like the boundaries. How do you implement around all that stuff?
It's tricky. I think it also depends on like the ball, like how you're regulated.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's, for example, with like people becoming psychologists, it's very strict with the board and what you can do and what you can't do, and so you have to step away if you want to do coaching kind of vibe. You kind of can't really do that as much. But I'm not sure what the counselling sort of space is like. I just know different places allow for different things.
Yeah.
So
look up for me. How many like clients have you had throughout your career so far?
I haven't counted them all.
Yeah.
But I would say I probably worked with over 1,000 at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insane.
In like all sorts of ways. Like not just one-on-one. I've worked with hundreds of people one-on-one. But yeah, lots of people, which is such an honor. Like it's really, I don't take it for granted. It's such an honor that people trust.
Definitely.
People trust me with their journey. That's really special.
Yeah.
Really special.
It would make you feel like you are in your power. Like you're using your power for good, or
Well, I just find it's just really special, and I also know that a lot of people, when they have come to me more around the mindset kind of side of things, they've come because they want a different approach.
Yeah.
And I'm honoured that they trust me with their different approach, and then I do find with the more business side focused people, it's also such an honour in that way too, because it's again, it is a different approach because we're talking about such spiritual empowerment and utilising that and how that kind of influences all other areas.
Well, what does spirituality mean to you?
It's a big question. I'm gonna have to sit on that.
Yeah, we can come back to it.
I'm trying to think.
Take your time, but also we can come back to it.
No, because I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. I feel like in some ways, hear me out with this, and this is me just like thinking and speaking. We can kind of workshop it as we talk, but I think in many ways my thought process is with spirituality and what it kind of means to me is it's helping you, of course, connect with yourself, but also to connect to something bigger than you. Like to remind yourself of your power, but your power in context of many other powers. So yeah, with me practicing spirituality, it honestly just makes me feel like I have a home, if that makes sense.
That does.
And with a lot of people,
like belong.
Yeah, you feel like you belong. So it's like it creates almost like a home. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing with their work. Like we're helping people create homes or like find home within themselves.
Yeah, home within themselves. That's lovely.
Yeah, but then I do find the spirituality aspect means that you feel connected and at home in the universe too.
Yes.
Very woo-woo, but we love it.
No, yes, 100%. I feel like I found the woo-woo-ness like during high school years. When did you find it for you?
Same.
Yeah.
Well, I had just strange experiences in high school where, kind of, you just like you just knew things that were going to happen before they did, or had a sense about something, had dreams about things before they happened. Had lots of like weird paranormal experiences as well, and just, so it just...
And you just sort of leaned into it?
I had a lot of stuff as a kid, and then I got really scared by it, so I leant out of it.
Right.
And then when I did lean back into it, it's really interesting because I had a lot of health stuff, like not a lot, as in just really struggled with fatigue, and the second that I had my sort of spiritual awakening, that all kind of went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did the spiritual awakening feel like for you?
Well, I mean, I still experienced the fatigue because, like, I came off the pill and there was all sorts of crazy shit going on with that. But it was, I'm like remembering as much as I can about it. It was like this wild experience of me, because I have this cynical mind. I can be a bit cynical about things. Like I'm an optimistic skeptic, I would say. Like I'm not a cynic, but I have been in the past very much an optimistic skeptic about a lot of things. And then I felt way more optimistic about everything in life. And I just remember feeling just like I was kind of walking on a rainbow. It was beautiful. So yeah, really, really nice.
How do you practice spirituality now in your day-to-day?
I practice it every day. Sort of like, you know, in how I journal, in the way I communicate. I practice it with my clients. Like even sort of the way that I set up containers. It's all with practice and beautiful rituals. And yeah, I wouldn't say that there's a day that I don't, or like I don't know, I feel like it's infused in everything that I do. I like utilize my tarot cards. You know, I'm always constantly saging my spaces, and yeah, like that's how I'd kind of, if there's like a specific, I wouldn't say there's a specific practice because I feel like there's so many that I do every day. But yeah, I have a lot of conversations with the universe all the time, and practice a lot of gratitude, and that's like the best thing that you can do. Oh my gosh.
What would be like your number one thing? Would it be gratitude, or like number one thing that you would say to anyone?
My number one thing would be to try and train your mind a little bit more. Actually, because if we don't, like, it doesn't matter how much you've studied or you know, it doesn't matter. Like, our minds, they will wander and they will go to worst case scenario. Like, they do need a little bit of training. So I would probably train your mind and just start off by, like, you know, it depends on the place in which you're at. Because if you're having a really tough time, I'd start by saying, what can I do today to help me feel 5 to 10% better tomorrow? Just like a really small, or if that feels like too much, 1%. And then with that, like each day, sort of starting out the day saying, actually today's going to be good.
Yeah. Today's
going to be a really good day for me. And you just find that how you act and how you be is just slightly different. We've got to train ourselves.
And what are you training for?
You're training, it's more about just feeling better.
Yeah. Like with resilience, or with like, or just curiosity, or an open mind, or just for yourself, like
I think
your life?
I think, yeah, for yourself and for your life, I would say, yeah. I mean, it can be resilience. There's a lot of things when you kind of do this work that you do find that a lot of people become quite resilient, and they see things as happening. Like a lot of stuff that you can't control, you just say, okay, well, there's lessons for me here. I can't control this situation and scenario, but I can take a lesson from it. Or I can take something from this experience and not make it mean nothing. Yeah. But yeah, I think everybody's,
I guess it's training for your own
values. Well, I mean, it depends. Like, like, I think it's just, you know, if you want to, I am always like, I want to feel good. Yeah. Like, to me, I want to feel good. And if I don't train myself, I can very easily not. So, yeah, it's part way because of that. And also, there's also, like, you know, sometimes there's just great things happening. But, you know, in the times where there's not, you got to do the training. Yeah. You got to work on it.
So, what are some things that are coming up for you in like personal and business, or
so what's happening in the next couple of months? Well, personally, I'm dealing, you know, not dealing, but I'm in the first trimester of my pregnancy, so I'm just focusing on growing this little bean, which is exciting.
That is?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Laura.
Thank you.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane after the journey we've had. It's amazing. It's like a miracle that it's here. So.
Do you want to talk about that journey, or?
Yeah, we can talk about it. That's fine.
What was the journey to get to this stage for you like?
Very tough. I'm not, like to put it kindly, like, and you know, everybody's journey is very, very different surrounding this sort of stuff. I know people who've had it, you know, had their experience last a lot longer than myself. But yeah, I've had quite a number of like difficulties in this area. So I have or had, I don't know where it's at the moment, but a few years ago had endometriosis stage 4, so it's covering my whole pelvic bowl, which was very painful, but they removed that. And then from that place, you know, sort of had the recommendation of, because I also had PCOS, you know, think about children, or if you're going to wait for a couple of years, we've got to look into freezing.
Right.
So with that advice, we were not ready.
Yeah.
So we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then, and then last year we felt very ready. Mind you, I had been off of any birth control and we, you know, not super careful or anything like that for a couple of years. And then last year, very luckily, fell pregnant with the help of ovulation induction. But sadly, that ended in a miscarriage. It was a very traumatic miscarriage. And then from that place, I needed to take a break, and we went overseas, and I needed time to kind of heal from that, because I had COVID, so I was alone, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And then, this year we were ready to start trying again, and then had done some like we tried kind of naturally, nothing, and then had some support with the doctors with the old ovulation induction, nothing, and then this last round was you know, having an induction with a trigger shot, which is kind of forcing the body to do its thing. And the doctor was a bit skeptical as well, because my body wasn't really responding to medication, so we sort of said, this is the last shot, because you're having like, it's not very fun, you're having time sex and shit.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And so he wasn't very optimistic either, just based off of, but like, you know, he was trying to hold the faith for us, and I was just sort of like, whatever, I'm, you know, kind of going to think it's not going to happen. And then, ended up finding out that I'm pregnant. And now I, you know, as we're filming this, I'm like 9 weeks and the sickest I've ever been, and it's amazing. So,
What's going, like, in your mind? Like, what's happening?
Well, it's interesting because I've been trying, like, the level of sick, I feel like pregnant people lie a little bit, or like just like fudge the truth, because, I've been to the point of like really almost in hospital with how much I've been unwell, and on a lot of medication to try and stop me from vomiting everything up. I haven't had meat in weeks. I can't eat a proper meal. It's pretty rough. So I feel like when I said to you when I came in, I was like, I feel very pale because I'm not eating.
The iron levels.
I'm like, I've been really, really, really sick, and just trying to keep myself out of hospital as much as possible, like as long as I have been. And it's worked. Like, I've done all the right things, and you know, we've got some people in our lives that are medical professionals that have been able to kind of help with that, to try and keep me out of hospital as well, because otherwise you're in hospital having to have IVs to rehydrate, and it's a whole pain in the bum. But it's been like, because I've been so sick, which is sort of like a weird blessing. Not as much anxiety as I thought. I thought I would be so anxious, but I'm not. I'm like the baby's doing as well as it can. I'm sick all the time. So, you know.
It's like, which one would I rather take?
Literally. So,
well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's really exciting. But it has been a big journey.
Yeah.
And anyone out there who's dealing with infertility, hats off to you, because it's fucking hard, and you know, it can be a lot. And very taxing.
Take its toll?
Yes, it's definitely taken its toll. Over the last couple of years, probably the last year or so, really taken its toll, and has made me question things a lot in a weird way, where you kind of go, you know, like, what's wrong with me? Like, this is what women should be able to, like, these are thoughts. They're very irrational. I get, like, anyone who's going through it, you're going to feel the same way of, like, why isn't this working for me? You know, this is what our bodies are meant to do. You know, it's not happening. What's wrong with me kind of thing. So there's the kinds of thoughts. But I just got to a point where I went, I'm sick of trying to control this. Give it to the doctors. And I'm very grateful that we're in a position where we can do that. But yeah, there's a lot of thoughts that go through your head. Like, it really does make you it also makes you kind of question your spirituality and your belief systems and all those kinds of things. And I just think that everybody has a different journey, and that has been my big, and my partner's, because it's been really tough on him too. Our big challenge so far. But we're stronger for it, and you know, I'm expecting, so it's working. Yeah.
Well, like, I would have never known any of this. Like,
really?
Did you open up?
A little bit. I have opened up about the miscarriage when I did miscarry last year. I did sort of share about that because, again, it was traumatizing. Like, it was like I had COVID at the time, and so I was sick, and then all of a sudden my symptoms just totally disappeared. And within a couple of days I was in hospital, and again alone, and it was horrible. So, you know, I needed a lot of time to kind of get myself even into a mental state where I go, I can go through that again. And I think, like, for a lot of women, especially if you've miscarried or if you've had any kind of experience like that, you think to yourself, like, I need to be strong enough that I can handle losing again. Because it's not about, like, the falling pregnant, because you're just thinking, and even now, like, it's horrible to say, but I do feel sometimes I go, like, you know, if I have a day where I'm actually well, I think, fuck, I'm going to lose it. It's going, my symptoms are disappearing, and you do catastrophize.
Is that, like, similar to PTSD? Because, like,
not really. Like, it's not.
Like, what are you going back to? Like, is it just the
I'm
feeling?
I'm not going back to anything. Okay. So if I was, I would be, you know, definitely. And I think, like, for a lot of people, go and get your help. Go and get help with it. Like, it's a very isolating experience. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like flashbacks. It's more just this, like, feel it. Just this. It's like it's a distrust, and it's this, like, it's hard to describe it once you do, when I don't know, for me, this has been my experience, everybody's totally different, but I'm just kind of like, you want to protect the little being and do everything you can to protect it and keep it safe. And so if you feel like something is different to what you're used to, you just, you know, kind of freak out. So I've had, like, one bad day where I was really bad and really freaking out, as in, like, a bit teary, a bit shaky, you know. For the most part, I'm, like, really impressed with how I'm handling it, to be honest.
And how is it, like, with you and your partner? Like, what are the things that you guys are doing for one another in terms of trying to make yourselves feel...
Well, he's, like, basically my caretaker at the moment. Because if I open the fridge stinks. I can't, like, and we've cleaned it. He's cleaned it.
Yeah.
I've cleaned it. Like,
can he smell it as well, or it's just... Oh my god, is this strong for you? The hand sanitizer?
This is actually fine. It's actually fine. But the fridge smells, the house smells, everything. Like, I feel like I smell.
I'll get you to look up.
I just don't deal well with.
Let me know as well if you want a break.
Yeah, I'll be alright. Like, I just he's been incredible. And he's just sort of like, I can't believe you're this sick with it. He's like, you'd think that you'd get a break by now. Like, I'm happy. If I have to be this sick, but we have a healthy baby at the end of it, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah. What's sort of your mindset towards announcing this child or this baby? Like,
it's tough. I feel like, even if people watch this and they've also experienced something similar, I feel like they might get what I mean. But part of me just wants to keep it completely offline and not tell anybody because I'm just nervous.
Yeah.
And then part of me, because it just feels like something that's so close that, like, unless I see someone in person, and, like, trust me, like, I've told all our friends and family knew the second we found out. Like, there was no way we were keeping that a secret. Because last time we did keep it a secret and only a couple people knew, and losing it was just added layers of trauma because no one knew. They were finding out when I was in hospital. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like part of me wants to just keep it to us until I'm like 4 months along, and like I feel very like centered in it. But
well, I mean, if you want as well, we can definitely upload this when you want to.
It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. I feel like most of the people, well, pretty much everyone who needs to know knows.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, like it's part of me wants to keep it all private, and other parts of me wants to tell. But I'm also very sensitive about how you kind of announce it, because I've had clients that have also come to me to work with me because they've experienced something similar. So it's just a tough, I don't know how I feel like I'm like working through it as we're talking. I haven't really thought about
trying to get that's probably later.
I've got to wait a couple of weeks. Got to find out a few things.
Speaking of social media, what do you like? What helps you think of like what's something appropriate to post and what's not, or like, you know, when I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, the line of like, oh, is this too much, or like, is this being too vulnerable or whatever?
I feel like if you're kind of still working through it and it feels like a major sore spot and like something deeply painful for you, I wouldn't necessarily suggest sharing too much. Like, I was pretty open about our journey last year when we started trying and all that kind of thing, and then this year I've just not shared anything. My clients have known that we've been on treatments because they've asked, actually, you know, but otherwise I wouldn't share. I think it's like, if it's if it's an experience for me that is currently very painful and very raw and I haven't worked through it, it's not right to share. Like, it would feel like crossing my own boundaries. So I don't think there's such a thing as too much necessarily, but
too sore.
Fresh. Too sore, too fresh, too real, too painful.
You've got to process it first.
I think processing is great, but again, like, you know, people, I think vulnerability is really powerful, and I think that it's important that we don't just try and be like superhuman all the time. And I think that if you're deeply afraid of like that being received, I don't know, it's a fine line, because I've done all sorts of kinds of vulnerable sharing. And I just try and do the things that also don't feel like I'm overstepping my boundaries. So that's probably my main thing.
And boundaries is a big thing for you. I remember you were like telling us to implement them a lot and everything like that. Like, why do you think they are very important?
Because I would say that they act as a bit of, how do I describe it? Like a bit of a sieve. So, you know, that's kind of like letting all the good stuff in and keeping anything that's not for you out. So it acts as a beautiful way to kind of continue to let things in. It's not about like you know, a lot of people kind of misconstrue it, and they will use boundaries to have effectively like these big brick walls around them, and that's not the purpose. It's to still allow things in, but to allow really amazing, beautiful experiences, people, etc., in, but also to ensure that you are safe and you feel safe. So I think that they're really powerful. You have them in friendship, work, everywhere, and they'll change over time too, which is really interesting.
As you change.
As you grow, as you change, as you shift, as you have experiences that, you know, kind of open you up and close you down. Like, they're going to change all the time. They can change in a week, honestly.
They definitely could, depending on what's happened and everything like that. What about, like, for someone who doesn't know how to how to implement boundaries, or if they're, you know, people pleasing or tiptoeing around certain situations? Like, how do you enforce the boundaries? Like, how do you make it a non-negotiable?
I think I always like to say that whenever you're doing this like inner work, it's kind of like going to the gym for the first time. And you know, when you go and you work out for the first time, you haven't gone in a while, you come away and you're like, I can't walk. I basically can't walk. And
not doing it again.
I need to be carried because this is not happening. And I find that it's like that with all of these practices. So implementing a boundary, it's going to hurt the first time. Like, it's going to be hard. And you're going to get better at it the more you practice it and the more you do it. And I always say with people, like, find a person that feels safe to implement a boundary with, like the safest person in your life, and then start to work around it from there. So that would be my suggestion. But it's also like with a lot of boundaries, or if you're people pleasing a lot, I always say to a lot of people, when we're pleasing other people, we're trying to just please other people, it comes from a really good place, right? But it also comes from quite a wounded place many times. And I tend to find that for a lot of people, when they are, you know, trying to people please, it means that you're having really dishonest connections with people. So you want to make that other person really happy, so you'll like perhaps act differently to how you would normally, and therefore you're actually missing that connection. So, you know, it's better for that other person for you to be more honest and real than to just, you know, lay down and please and you know, do all those things. So it's better for all relationships. Nothing worse than, like, you know, when you've asked somebody for a favor, or they've been like, hey, would you like to do this together? And they've come and they've rocked up like half an hour late, they're scrambled, you can tell they don't want to be there, and they're grumpy or they're going through something in their life, right? And you think in your mind, you just tell me you don't want, like, tell me you can't be here. I love you, it's fine. Right? But they won't, because they'll try and do the right thing by you, but it's actually costing the relationship, because then you go, I don't want to ask you because I don't trust your yeses. And if you don't give me a no, I can't trust your yes.
That's true.
So that's why I kind of go, it's better for everybody, because I've been that person who's like been like, why did you come, man? Like, you should have just stayed home. Like, love you, but don't, you know, sacrifice everything.
And you said that like to a person?
Absolutely. Like, I've been like, I love you so much, but you really, like, you seem like you're struggling. Do you want to be here? Like, you never have to force yourself to be in a position or come to something to make sure I'm fine. Like, you know, tell me, talk to me. And it's hard to do that, but I prefer you do that than to show up somewhere and be half in, half out.
And is that like your own boundary, being able to, like, not confront, but just say that as it is? I want you to close as well, just adding this shade.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, people really close to me, yes, like I'm pretty upfront with the people that are very close to me, but I also pick my battles. So sometimes I'm like, don't know if I can be bothered. But yeah, I'm like, if someone asks me a question, I'm pretty upfront with them. I don't really like to tiptoe and give you a false idea of
because
how I'm
otherwise
feeling.
You're not being true to yourself, and you're not.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't deal too well with, like, very. It's interesting because I feel I kind of made a post about this the other day, where in the work that I do, there's a lot of people who will then gravitate toward one another in the work that I do. So if they're a coach, they might just only hang out with coaches, and then it all becomes very cliquey and kind of weird, like weird echo chambers, and I'm really not into that at all. I feel like a bit of an outsider sometimes in those sorts of scenarios, because some of my closest friends I've had for 15 years, and they don't give a shit what I do. They're like, oh no, you're into the woo-woo stuff, like, it's great.
It's you.
It's fantastic. And we get together, and that's like, and they're like some of the most spiritual people without practicing spirituality. It's incredible. So same as my partner, he practices so much. He has such a strong mindset, and he practices so many of, like, the things that I would teach somebody. He practices all of that. Even in his business, he practices it. He has no idea. Like, he has no idea. And I love those kinds of people.
Yeah, that's very true. Some people who aren't even aware of it, they have no idea. And it's just, in other terms then, would you say that it's just more so, like, work, you know, like, instead of it being like spirituality, for those who don't practice it, is it them just doing the things that they know are good for them and their future in their life? That's basically all that it is, really.
For some people, they like to practice that through a spiritual lens. Other people, you don't at all. Right? Like, if for example, if going to see a psychologist is your jam, and that's what helps you unpack things from the past and set goals and do all the things that you want to do, that is incredible. Like, I don't have any, like, as long as you got something for you, couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Don't care what it is.
Yeah. Yes. Keep
Couldn't
it
care
real.
less. Yeah.
I'll just add some mascara so look down. Yeah. Speaking of like your coaching biz, have you, because I think I've seen a little bit, it's like, have you rebranded sometimes?
Yes. Yeah. I've kind of gone through one recently. I've resisted this for a long time. So I've had a lot of people who are in the space and have then asked me, hey, can you kind of like mentor coach? Can I have business support? Because, you know, you've created what I wanted in the mindset space. And it got to a point, like I've resisted this for such a long time, I can't even tell you, where it got to a point where just naturally on its own, 80% of my clients were people who were coming for business stuff. So the vast majority of those people were coming through for that reason. And I went, yeah, that's, you know, this is where we're going to go. But I didn't want to. Yeah. No, I wanted to do what I'm like used to, because it's safe to do what you're used to.
So you're doing the both, or are you doing?
I do predominantly like business stuff, but again, like, you know, I had a client the other day where they came through and we were working on, you know, stuff around their business and kind of like visibility and using their voice and feeling like empowered and connected to their voice. And we didn't talk about strategy. I think we talked about strategy for maybe 5 minutes at the end. But the entire session, like we did a past life regression session. So it's in the context. Yeah. But it's like it's different. If that makes sense.
And do you think that is like with rebranding, why were you resistant to it?
Because I didn't want to be another person in the space doing it, because I feel like there's a lot who do it. Yeah. That was my honest response.
Do you think it falls also into like, because when I think of rebranding, it's like, it's similar to when you just want to do something different for yourself, like.
Yeah. I also think like for myself during the time when I did rebrand.
You can talk, sorry. I know it's orcs.
I feel
or we will just wait.
We'll skip. So. Yeah, I think it was definitely for myself to have the conversations that I was having in sessions. Because those were the conversations I was always having. Like I wasn't really having as many mindset conversations anymore. But don't get me wrong, I still do all of that. Yeah. And even like, you know, some of the people that work with me, they are asking questions about that they can do, you know, how to manage a client in a certain scenario or client disputes and all those bits and pieces. So. Yeah, but I think at the time a little bit, like part of the reason why I did it as well was it was just naturally happening on its own, like very naturally, like literally being shoved into that, like pretty much there was a point where for 3 months the only inquiries I got were for that, and I was like, yeah, come on, I hear you. And I also was like, yeah, I would like to have conversations around this, because I was attracting so many people at the time, if they were coming for mindset, they were coming through dealing with perhaps infertility or something like that, because I'd shared. And very hard for me to hard for me to coach someone on it when I was so in the depths and the trenches of it. So I was sort of like, it's happening already. And as much as I want to resist this, I can either resist it and try and keep, you know, basically flogging a dead horse and try to do the same thing over and over again, or I could roll with it and see where we end up. So yeah, I've just rolled with it.
Love it. Yeah. I'll just finish off the lips as well. What do you think makes a successful coach?
Being really good at the skills. It's going to be really good at it. Which takes time and practice. I was not very good when I started. I would like to say I was, but I don't think I was. And like, yeah, a success. Like, so just being a good coach in general, I think it takes you need to have a level of empathy, and you need to be really able to see people and hear them and understand humans really well. And obviously you need to be qualified and all those bits and pieces. And then I would say to be a successful coach, you need to be willing to put yourself and your story out there, which a lot of coaches do not like to hear.
So you think that anyone can be one? Like, if they've got all those things, do you think that, like, anyone can successfully maintain a career as a coach? Or does it depend?
I think you have to have a level of, you have to be willing to work hard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're always going to work hard, because that's not been my experience necessarily, but you have to be willing to. And you've got to be willing to stretch your edges a lot, and some personality types are not suited for that. And that's not like and you can train yourself to become that kind of personality, but some personality types are not suited to working for themselves because it's stressful and it can be overwhelming at times, and like that's really I feel like that's a harsh thing to say, but that you can have all the right skills in the world and be the best coach in the world, but if you can't market yourself and you can't sell, you can't like share your own story, and you're not willing to put yourself out there and work hard on like being good at business, not just being a good coach, you're gonna really struggle. So yeah, again, not what people want to hear, but it's the truth. It's like there's a kind of personality type that is suited to it.
Yeah. Why do you think that some people are scared to listen to these truths?
It's easier to it's easier, I don't know, it's easier not to. It's easier to,
live a false life, or just...
I just think that there's like, I think there's a lot of people coming into the industry because they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. In the past, like I don't think it's happening now, but probably last year, the year before as well, there's a ton of people. Yeah, maybe... I don't know, but I think that like people think that it's a way to like make a ton of money, and it is a way to you can make good money, but you also, that's like any field that you work in. There are some people that make good money and there are some people that don't, because there's lots of different layers and different success levels and all the things. So I think that if you're only in it to make money and to make a lot of money, I would go into any other career. I'll probably go into something that's going to make... Yeah, no, because you do make good money, but you've got... I think you've got to be in it for the right reasons. Like first and foremost, I want to help people, and help people in the areas that I want to help people in. And if your only driver is like, oh, this looks like it's going to make me lots of money, you're going to get really disappointed really quick, because it's hard work to just make money. Like I honestly think you'd be better off looking at other areas. And it's not to say that you won't make money, you absolutely will, and you can make really great money, but it's also like, you got to put yourself out there a lot. Yeah. You got to be willing to have hard conversations, you got to run a business alongside, be really good at your skills, being, the front face of your business. Like, there's a lot to it. Yeah. It's not just one aspect. Yeah. So that I think...
forget that. Hey?
I think they do, yeah. And not
Get you to close?
They're not, bad or wrong or anything like that. I just think, again, it's personality type. Yeah, I used to think anybody could do it, and I think there's a lot of types of people that would be brilliant at coaching. I don't think that there's a lot of people who would be brilliant at running a coaching business.
Yes, because they're two different things.
Very different things.
Yeah.
So I think you can be a really good coach and be really bad at business.
And now we're coming closer to the end of the video. What would be your advice to people who are like questioning their ability or like their goals, or like, if they want to achieve something but they're scared to? What would be your advice?
So they're scared to go after it.
Yeah, scared to go after something.
Okay. My thought process would be, it's interesting because I'm like, all I want to do is like gain more understanding of who this person is and where their life is and all
and that's the science part of it, do you think?
Well, it's more just like, I think you can say very vague things. Yeah. That like are semi-helpful, like, but if you know someone, it's a lot easier to kind of, understand them a little bit more. But my sort of suggestion would be like, what is the biggest fear, and what are you really worried about you losing or having happen? So for example, for a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, I don't want to go down this path because I don't want to be judged. And I'm like, you're already being judged. It's already happening. Yeah. So like, regardless of you doing like the most incredible thing that is philanthropic and everybody loves it, there's going to be a percentage of people that go, don't know about that person, they kind of rub me up the wrong way. Like, it's already happening. So, you know, I always kind of look at, like, what is, you know, some of the worst case scenario. Can you either manage that, or is it already happening? Is it really, is it an actual problem, or is it a problem we're making up in our head? And then I also like to say, you know, I do like to kind of think about it this way. Like, if I were to wake up, you know, say for example, it's, you know, many decades into the future, and you wake up and you're on your deathbed, like, do you want to think, oh yeah, I wasted 5 years thinking about this idea that I really wanted to do and I never did it? You know, that would be, and also a bit of a driver of like, like, it's really important to try. And I don't really think you can fail until you give up. You've only failed when you've given up. So, you know, there's no such thing. And like, there's a lot of people who will do stuff where it will look like a failure, but it's not. Like, you've learnt so much. You've taken so many experiences from that. So I think, my suggestion is to, if you're afraid, like, feel the fear. It's okay to feel afraid of it, and manage the fear and take care of your body and do the things that you need to do to help you with perhaps the feelings of fear, the feelings of overwhelm, and then send it. It's okay to be a little scared while you're doing it. We're all scared when we're doing new things. Like, we're all a little scared.
That's true. You gotta just try.
Give it a try.
You never know.
It's failure. If failure becomes your friend, you'll be in good stead.
Oh, I like that as well. Failure being your friend.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
And it's not even failure. Like,
no, it's just learning. Like, but some people honestly will deem, and I've got clients who, like, they'll have a post on social media that doesn't go the way that they expected it to, and they'll be like, oh fuck, I'm failing, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, literally happens to me all the time. It's not a failure.
It's the algorithm.
You can't control the algorithm, you just control your response to it.
Alright, I'll get you to close and I'll spray your face. Oh, I hope that didn't make you nauseous.
No, you're fine. I've been okay. I took my meds before.
And that's being authentic.
Before I came in, I took my meds.
Good girl. I'll give you the mirror as well.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh, I look so, like, regal. Do you know what I mean?
I know, like Bridgerton.
Yeah, because it's, like, really natural but really beautiful.
And I think it's the rosy cheeks and the lips. That's, like, the regal, hey? And your eyes really pop.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for making me feel pretty. Because all I do is vomit.
No. Well, I'll give us we'll end it off with a final question. And that would be, what would you say to your anything that you could say to your younger self? I love this intuition, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just like, there's so many things I want to say to my younger self. I think, like, it depends, like, as I kind of tune into different versions of me at different ages, but there have been times where my younger self really struggled, and so I'd love to say to them and give them, like, just give them the biggest hug and tell them a lot of this doesn't matter right now and it's going to get better, which sounds like kind of sad, but in many ways I think that's what they needed to hear. Like, you've got this, keep going.
Just the words of encouragement.
Like, and like a loving hug.
That's beautiful.
That's what I think I would like to do, is like give them a big hug.
Definitely physical touch. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on as well as one of my guests.
I appreciate it so much. I'm so happy for you that you're doing this. It's incredible.
And all the best as well with your journey with the little
bean.
The bean. It's like, because I was like the little nugget.
It's the size of a green olive this week, so who knows? It's like literally so small.
A little bean. Alright, well, all the best with your bean and the business as well, because I got an email last night about your I'm still on the list.
I love that.
Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to...
Happens to all of us.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are interested in what Laura does or who she is or anything more about her journey, I'll link everything below. And yes, thank you so much again. Bye.